Hampton, South Carolina. Mallory Beach's death, the boating accident that unraveled the Murdaugh family's secrets. 19-year-old Mallory Beach was a popular girl in her hometown of Hampton County, South Carolina. She had graduated from Wade Hampton High School and worked at a clothing boutique in Beaufort. Mallory dreamed of becoming an interior designer someday. She was dating a guy named Anthony Cook and had many friends, including 19-year-old Paul Murdaugh. Paul was friends with both Mallory and her boyfriend Anthony. On February 23, 2019, Mallory and Anthony planned to spend the evening on Pawkey Island in the Beaufort River with their friends, Anthony's cousin Connor Cook, and Connor's girlfriend Miley Altman. They decided to meet up on Murdaugh Island, a river property owned by Paul Murdaugh's family. Since Paul and his girlfriend Morgan Dowdy were also going to the party, the friends agreed to head there together on Paul's boat. That day, Paul, Connor, Anthony, and their girlfriends were illegally consuming alcohol. None of them were 21 yet. Earlier that same day, surveillance cameras captured Paul Murdaugh buying alcohol at a local store. He used his older brother Buster's ID. Paul was thrilled that he managed to purchase the forbidden beverages. He took them with him on the boat. Around 6:30 p.m., Anthony, Mallory, Paul, his girlfriend Morgan, as well as another couple, Connor and Miley, assembled at the Beaufort River. The six of them set off on the boat around 7 p.m. They reached Murdaugh Island for the party, where they spent several hours. Around midnight, all six headed back to the boat to travel to another island and continue the festivities. It was already dark, and a thick fog hung over the river. When they got on the boat, Paul Murdaugh insisted on going to a bar downtown Beaufort. GPS records pulled from the boat's device show the group tied it up to a dock around 12:45 a.m. Paul and Connor went into the waterfront bar and ordered drinks. To get in, Connor used a fake ID, while Paul once again showed his brother Buster's ID. They looked very similar. Paul and Connor each had 2 shots of hard liquor in a matter of minutes. While the 2 guys were drinking inside the bar, the other 4 from their group remained outside, waiting for the boys to return. Literally 20 minutes later, Paul and Connor left the bar and rejoined their friends. They headed back to where the boat was docked. By this point, Paul was heavily intoxicated and behaving inappropriately. As Anthony and Mallory were walking back to the boat, the surveillance cameras from the dock captured this tender moment. These were the last frames Mallory was still alive in. Around 1:15 a.m., the friends, all 6 of them, got on the boat and took off down the Beaufort River. According to Miley, the guys started arguing amongst themselves. A drunk Paul began behaving terribly, aggressively driving the boat in circles. Anthony asked Paul to drop them off at the nearest dock, but Paul refused. An intoxicated Paul was behind the wheel eating donuts. Then a scuffle broke out between Paul and his girlfriend Morgan. Paul continued driving the boat, endangering the whole group. The onboard GPS showed the boat's speed was significantly exceeded. The girls on the boat became very scared. They begged Paul to stop and let them out on the nearest shore. At one point, Connor Cook took the wheel, but Paul didn't like that someone else was driving his boat and said, "No, it's my boat, let me drive." Paul didn't want anyone else controlling his vessel. Connor's girlfriend saw an approaching bridge. Around 2:20 a.m., the boat crashed into the Archers Creek Bridge. Mallory was thrown from the boat into the dark water. Anthony immediately called 911. He reported, "We've been in an accident on Archers Creek. There are 6 of us and 1 girl is missing." Everyone was crying, frightened and in shock, trying to find Mallory, but she was nowhere to be seen. Beaufort County Deputy Sheriff Stephen Domino arrived at the scene and found Anthony, who was extremely distraught, running around near the water. The officer managed to calm the guy down and asked him to sit in his patrol car. According to Stephen, when Paul Murdaugh got out of the boat, Anthony tried to lunge out of the car to attack Paul, seeing him smirk arrogantly. Anthony told the police he saw Paul driving the boat right before the crash. Blood traces were found inside the vessel on the very bottom, which also recorded the damage to the boat after the collision. 4 passengers were taken to the hospital, everyone except Mallory's boyfriend Anthony, who wanted to stay. Connor broke his jaw. Morgan's hand was badly injured. According to the hospital staff, Paul refused medical assistance. A nurse took Paul's blood several hours after the accident. His blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. The hospital staff also reported that they observed Paul's father, Alex Murdaugh, going from room to room, trying to talk to the other crash survivors. All his efforts were aimed at protecting his son, Paul. A security guard also reported overhearing Alex Murdaugh saying on the phone, "She's gone, don't worry." Investigators and volunteers using rescue boats, divers, and a helicopter spent 8 days searching for Mallory Beach. On March 3, 2019, 2 volunteers found the girl's body about 8 kilometers downriver from the crash site. A month after the tragedy, Mallory's family filed a lawsuit against Paul Murdaugh. On April 18, 2019, when Mallory would have turned 20, Paul Murdaugh was charged with 3 felonies: boating under the influence resulting in Mallory Beach's death and injuring 2 other passengers. Paul pleaded not guilty to all charges and was out on bail awaiting trial. However, Paul Murdaugh would never get his day in court. On June 7, 2021, he was murdered along with his mother Maggie at one of the Murdaugh properties. His father Alex told 911 he had returned home and found his son and wife shot dead. Well-known and respected attorney Alex Murdaugh was charged with murdering his wife and son on July 15, 2022. The man made international headlines as he was a fairly prominent lawyer. After Paul Murdaugh's death, all charges against him were dropped. Mallory's aunt admitted, "All I ever wanted was for Paul to stand trial and tell me he was very sorry. That's all I wanted to hear." Many wondered if Paul Murdaugh's murder could somehow be related to the 2019 boat crash. The lawsuit over Mallory Beach's case is still pending. In 2021, boat passenger Connor Cook filed a lawsuit against Alex Murdaugh. He claims that Alex tried to prove his son Paul wasn't driving the boat, but rather, Connor Cook was. The guy admitted that back at the hospital, Alex Murdaugh told him there was no need to tell anyone who was behind the wheel. When Mallory's aunt heard the news about the double homicide in the Murdaugh family, she was devastated. The aunt confessed, "The thought of what they went through made me cry. Things like this shouldn't happen in our small town." Although she is still grieving Mallory, the woman says she never wished ill on Paul Murdaugh. Mallory's aunt also says her niece loved animals, especially dogs. In honor of her memory, a non-profit charity organization was created. It is raising money to build a new animal shelter around Hampton in South Carolina. Thank you for watching this video. Write your opinion in the comments, and also do not forget to put a like if you like this story. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.